What's up, guys? I'm Lithex, CEO and founder of Lithex Productions, and today we're going to take a look at how we can implement a simple turn-based system for our strategy game. Hey guys, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that we're currently in development of a full Udemy course for game design. It's taken a lot of work, but I hope you'll enjoy it just as much as I've been putting it together. And yeah, it's actually going to be free for our top tier patrons as a huge thank you for all of the support that you've already given us. But aside from that, guys, let's just go on ahead and get started. So, first, let's start by kind of creating our scene with our characters and stuff like that are going to end up fighting each other. So the first thing we want to do is create a plane. I'm going to call this ground. And then you want to reset the transforms just in case. We're going to set the scale to 10 on all three axes. Awesome. Now we need to make a little player object. So let's just make a cube and we'll call this player. We'll reset the transforms just in case, and we'll move it up on the Y by 0.5. Now, I'm just going to move this over a bit, and then I'm going to be on my player, hit Control D to duplicate, and move that one over here, and we'll just rename this enemy. Now, we kind of need to see this battle from a specific perspective, right? So let's grab our camera and let's just move this to where we can see a little bit better. Let's raise it up maybe, move it back, and then we'll rotate it down. We can move forward a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. Now we have our little scene for our camera. Actually, let's just zero that one out. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to swap these positions a bit because I want my player to be on the left side. And we'll check how that looks. Great. Now we need a way to distinguish our player and our enemy apart. So let's go on ahead and create a new folder. We'll call this materials. Now in materials, let's create a new material. We'll call this uh, player mat, and then just hit duplicate, Control D, and then we'll rename this to enemy mat. Now on our enemy one, we'll change it to be a red color, and on our player, we'll change it to be a green color. So now let's drag our player mat onto our player and our enemy mat onto our enemy. Now we can tell them apart while we fight. Really quick, simple way to make some fancy little characters. Okay, so now we need to add a little bit of UI to this because we're going to have to attack and we're going to have health and all of that. So let's just create a canvas real quick. So we'll right click, go to UI, and create a canvas. Now let's rename this UI, then come down to canvas scaler, and we'll switch this to scale with screen size. Reference resolution, I'm going to put 1920 by 1080. Sweet. Now, when you add your UI, there's a quick disclaimer here. If you're using the new Unity input system, you're going to have to drop down to your event system and hit the update button. It looks like this. Okay, so we're not using that in this project, so we don't have to update anything on there, but that's good to know if you do have that in there. So let's click on our UI. We'll hit F to focus it, and then we'll switch into 2D mode up here in the top left. It's going to let us work on our UI a lot easier. So a couple things that we're going to need are a few buttons. So I'm going to right click inside of UI, and we're gonna go to UI, and I'm gonna make a text mesh pro button. I like them a lot more. You can create a regular button if you like. When you click text mesh pro, it's going to bring up this box here, and you want to click import TMP essentials. Sweet. Now we can close that, and we have a button. And so we'll just call this one um, attack button. Okay. And we're gonna move this, say, well, if this is center, we'll put it around here somewhere. Then we're gonna duplicate it. Well, let's resize that a bit, make it a little bit easier to see. Then we'll duplicate, and we'll place one on this side. And I'm actually gonna set position X to, let's say 200 here, and this one can be negative 230. Sweet. And let's rename the second button to heal button. All right, now that we have our attack button and heal button, let's put that in their text. So here we'll just say attack, and I'm gonna use small caps here because I like it better. And then in my heal button, I'm gonna do the same thing. We'll change the text to heal, and I'm gonna use small caps. Sweet, that's all we need on our buttons for now. The other thing that we're gonna need are um, well, actually, we're definitely going to need a game controller for this, and that's how our buttons are going to know what to use. So to use our game controller, to make a game controller, we're going to create an empty game object. And then we want to right-click, reset transform on that game object, and we're just going to name it game controller. Okay? So this is what's going to hold all of our functions for our game. Now we're going to add some health bars. So in order to add some health bars, we're just going to right click. We'll go to UI and we're going to create a slider. Now, this slider, the first thing I want to do here is hide this handle slide area. I don't care about that. I do not need it. You can delete it if you want. Now, I'm going to position this down here kind of by our health, and we'll make it a little bit bigger to see it. I'll just match it to the outside of heal and match this one to the outside of attack. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to rename this and rename the slider player health. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate this. And we're going to name this one enemy health. And we'll put this one somewhere towards the top. Maybe down a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So we also want to distinguish our health bars. So player health, we're going to go to our fill. We're going to change the fill to something green. And then we're going to change our background to solid black with about 100 opacity. So we got that kind of clear look in the back. Then we want to click on player health and set the max value to 100 or however much health you want to have and put the slider all the way up. Now, once that's all the way up, we need to go to our fill area and drag this up to match the bar. And we're going to do the same thing to the enemy. So we'll go enemy health bar. We want to do the drop down. Background is going to be solid black with about 100 in opacity. We're going to go to our fill area on our fill, and we'll change this to maybe some red. Okay. Then we'll go to our enemy health, set the max value to 100 or whatever you want his health to be. Max it out, and we'll stretch out our fill area. There we go. Now we have an attack button, a heal button, our player health, and our enemy health. Now I kind of want to organize our hierarchy a little bit. I like to have my game controller at the top and my UI at the top, right under game controller. And so now with our UI getting done and we have our game controller, we can actually go on ahead and start coding this bad boy up. So let's go on ahead and create a script folder. So create folder, and we're going to create a script in here, and we'll just call this game controller. Sweet. Now let's open that up in Visual Studio, and let's set this up to start taking our code. So we're going to remove everything out of the middle here. Uh, I'm actually going to use collections, so I'm only going to take out generic here. Now, for some of the things that we're going to be referencing, we're going to be using the UI. So we're going to say use Unity engine.ui. Okay. And we're going to do a namespace. So we'll do namespace lp dot turn-based strategy tutorial. Perfect. There we go. Now we're ready to start making some awesome code. So we're going to need to add a couple variables here. We're going to want to reference some of the stuff we're using here. So we're going to do a serialized field private game object. Okay, and we want to reference our player. Set that to null. And then we will do another game object, but we want the enemy. Okay, and then we'll do another one, and we'll do the slider, and we'll do player health, and you guessed it, we're going to do enemy health. Pretty straightforward. So before we forget to do this, let's just go on ahead and hop back into Unity. Let's put this game controller script onto our game controller. We'll highlight our game controller, and let's reference our player, our enemy. Then we want to open our UI, grab our player health and our enemy health. Sweet. Okay, so let's save that, and then let's switch back over to Visual Studio, and we're going to make an attack function. So this is how we're going to take damage, right? So let's do private void attack. And actually, we're going to take a couple parameters here. So we want to know who we're going to attack, right? So we want the target, and then how much damage we're going to do. So let's do damage, okay? So we want to know if our target is the enemy, if it's our enemy, as in not the player, then we're going to take the enemy health and minus, or the enemy health dot value, sorry, minus equals damage, okay? Then we'll do else, meaning if it's the player, then we'll do player health dot value. Oh, looks like I spelled that wrong up here. P-L-A-Y-Y-E-R. Player health dot value minus equals damage. Okay. So this is going to allow us to start taking damage. Now we also want to, we had a heal button, so let's make a heal function. So private void heal. And we're going to take parameters on this as well. And so we want to know which person to heal, and then the amount we want to heal for. Okay, and so then we're going to do something very similar here. except for we're going to say if uh, the target is equal to enemy, then we actually want to add to our health, right? So, or our health or their health. So enemy health dot value plus equals amount. Wow, I am having a lot of trouble spelling today, aren't I? Amount. There we go. And then we'll do else player health dot value plus equals amount. Okay. So now we can heal. Um, but first, we're going to have to set up some functions that our buttons can use because buttons actually can't use a function that's taking parameters like this. This is too much for it. So we're going to just create some simple functions, and we'll just say um, they have to be public. So public void button attack, right? Simple enough. And that'll be attack the enemy for, I don't know, we'll just say 10 damage, right? And so this type of information you would normally have stored in like your character stats. So you would attack with however much attack points you have and things like that. But right now we're just gonna say we're just gonna do 10 damage, and then we'll do a public void button heal, and we are going to heal for, get rid of that. We'll do heal player, and we'll heal for, I don't know, let's say 5. There we go. So we got 10 attack, and we can heal for 5. Now, in a turn-based game, you can normally only do like one thing, and then it goes to the enemy turn, right? So we need to set up our turn system. So let's create a bool here. We'll just call it is player turn. And we'll just set it to true at first, so we get to start first. And then you can actually make it to where, depending on maybe your attack speed, who can go first, but we're just going to make it to where we go first in this tutorial anyway. So now we want to create a change turn function. Okay, so let's do private void change turn. All right. Now when we change turn, all we're going to do for now is say is player turn is equal to or equals not is player turn. And what that does, it just means if it's true, then it changes it to false. If it's false, then it changes it to true. So it just swaps it. Now we want to add our change turn after each time we attack or heal, right? So we're going to come here and we'll say change turn. And we'll come here, change turn. Awesome. Now we want to make these buttons actually work. So to do that, we need to have, and actually, you know what? We want, when you change turns and it's an enemy turn, your buttons shouldn't work at all, right? So let's reference these buttons so we can make them inactive when it's an enemy turn. So we're going to do a serialized field private button. We'll just call it attack button. And you can actually do it like this. You could technically say attack button equals null, comma, heal button equals null. But I like breaking them out a little bit more while I do this. So serialized field, private button, heal button equals null. Okay. So now that those are set, let's go on ahead and hop into Unity now and set those references so we don't forget. So we'll go to game controller, and now we have attack button and heal button. So let's add in attack button and heal button. Perfect. Now we can actually click on our attack button and let's come down here to where it says on click in the button function. So right in here, and we're gonna press the plus sign and we want to drag our game controller into there. Click this drop down, go to game controller, and then click on button attack. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing for heal. We'll click the plus sign, drag in our game controller, go to game controller, but this time we'll click button heal. Okay. Now our buttons will cast those when we want to use them. All right. So let's save that and let's go back into Visual Studio and let's head to our change turn function here because we actually want to make our buttons not able to be interacted with when it's the enemy turn, right? So this is the perfect time to check for it. So if not is player turn, so if it's the enemy turn, then we want to set our attack button um, interactable equal to false. Okay, and then we'll say, um, and they're actually we could technically do this the same way we did these, um, but I think this is just a little bit easier to read right now. Um, so we'll do heal button dot interactable equals false. Okay. So then we'll say if or else, meaning it is the player turn, then attack button dot interactable equals true, and heal button dot interactable equals true. There. So let's save that. And now we need to be able to make the enemy attack, right? And so something to think about is they don't normally like attack right away, right? So it's not going to be like it changes to their turn, then they immediately attack and it's your turn again, because then you could just keep spamming the button and just make the fight over with very quickly. So we want to give it kind of a little bit more of a real feel to it. So to do this, we're going to create what's called a coroutine. And to do that, what we want to do is type private I enumerator, okay? And we'll call this enemy turn, okay? And right now it's gonna say it's wrong, but that's because we have to return a value in this. So the value that we're gonna return, we're gonna type yield return new, wait 4 seconds, and we're gonna wait for 3 seconds, okay? So that means uh, the second it's his turn, we're going to wait for 3 seconds before he does anything. And so after those 3 seconds, we're going to, well, we want to determine whether he's going to attack or heal, right? So let's get int called random. We'll set it equal to 0. And then we'll say random is equal to random dot range. Oops, equal to random dot range. Um, and then we'll say 1. And so we want our two options to be 1 or 2. So 1 is inclusive. The minimum is inclusive, meaning we can get a 1. The max range is exclusive, meaning we have to pick 3 because if we pick 2, then 2 is excluded. So we would still only get 1. So if we put it to 3, then 3 is excluded, but we can get 1 or 2. So we're going to go from 1 to 3. And now let's just say if random is equal to 1, then we will attack the player for, let's say, 12 damage. Okay. And then we'll say else, we're going to heal. We could probably, since he's doing more damage, we'll just make him heal a little bit less. So it's a little bit balanced, right? So we'll heal enemy 3. Okay. Now we want our attack to happen on the enemy turn, right? So, once it switches over to enemy turn, meaning we did this, it changes turn, and it's enemy turn. So if not is player turn, our buttons go inactive, and we're going to start coroutine enemy turn. Okay. So let's save that, and we can hop back into Unity now and give it a whirl. See what happens. We'll hit play. Awesome. So we have our game set up. If I hit attack, he takes damage. It's his turn. We can't press our buttons. And he just healed, so I'll attack again. It's his turn. He healed again. I'll attack again. Okay, so we got a null reference here. And let's see what this is. It says object not set to the instance of an object on CS26. So odds are we're missing something here. Yep, player health. Okay, so that's fine. We just need to come to our UI and put our player health right there. So he tried to attack us, and I didn't get the player health in here on the game controller. So let's try this again. We attack. Okay, he attacked us. Look, we took damage. Attack. And he healed. And we can heal if we want to. And he attacks us. And there you go. So it's going to go on and on until someone wins. And if you want, you can actually end up adding another function that says, if their health is 0, destroy the object. You can add win conditions, the rest of your menus, all of that. But for now, that's your core game logic on your turn-based strategy game. And I hope that was really helpful for you guys. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit like. Let me know in the comments below what other types of videos you would like to see. This was also a suggestion, so I'm really happy that you suggested it. It was a really fun thing to show you. And until next time, guys, as always, peace.